Hi, welcome back everybody, me Robert here for another video in our SAP YouTube series. In this video we will build an SAP UI5 Freestyle App for an OData V4 service that we developed together in the video Let's Code ABAP with the RESTFul Application Programming model. With SAP UI5 Freestyle we can build the whole UI from scratch, and we are therefore more flexible than with the SAP Fiori Elements approach that we used in this video, named Create and Deploy an SAP Fiori App. So if you're not familiar with these two topics, feel free to watch these two videos before this video. But now we will build a freestyle app with a responsive splitter that allows us to split our screen in two panes, and in one pane we will display a list with YouTube videos that we retrieve from the OData V4 service, and in the other pane we will integrate the original YouTube player that allows us to play YouTube videos directly in our app. As always, we will start with a live demo so that you can see the app that we built, and then I will show you exactly how you can build this app. So if you like this content, please consider giving a like and subscribe so you guys can keep up to date with all of our videos. Now without further ado, let's get to it! Alright, let's start with a quick live demo. Here you can see the list with the YouTube videos that we retrieve from the OData V4 service. Each row in this list contains the thumbnail of a video, the title and the description. And if we click on one of these rows, for example on this one here, then the screen splits into two panes. On one pane we still can see the list, and on the other pane we see the YouTube video, the details of this YouTube video, along with the original YouTube player here. And if we click on the YouTube player here, the video starts to play, and we can use all the features that the YouTube player provides. Additionally, I have included a Lightbox, a control here in the header that allows us to increase the size of the thumbnail. But now I will show you how you can build a freestyle application. For this purpose, I've opened already the SAP Business Application Studio. If you're not familiar with how to set up the SAP Business Application Studio, please watch my video Setting up SAP Business Application Studio BAS. I will leave you a link in the description below. In order to create a new freestyle app, you can either click on New Project from Template from the Get Started page here, or you click on the hamburger symbol here on the left hand side and you choose File, New Project from Template here. I choose New Project from Template here. I click on it. This gives me an overview of the available templates in my dev space, and I choose the SAP generator here, which supports the freestyle approach. And then I hit Start. On this page we see further templates, and the first one is the basic template. Create a freestyle application starting with an empty page. That's exactly what we want to do. Therefore we choose this template, this basic template, and then at the bottom of this page we click Next. Here we choose a data source, we choose Connect to a system, and we choose our ABAP system. Next we can choose a service here in this list, and we choose this video OData V4 service here that we created in one of the last videos. And then we hit Next. Here we can enter a view name. We enter videos here as a view name, and then we hit Next. Here you can enter a module name. The module name, that's basically the name of the directory that gets created when you create the app. I name it freestyle, for example here. Then the title of the app is Freestyle Video App The same I enter into the description here. Then all the other fields and settings, I leave them as they are, and then I hit finish here. Once the app is created, you can see the application information here. In this case, we have added the project to our existing workspace. However, you can create a separate workspace for this project. If you click on this hamburger symbol here on the left-hand side, then you choose File, Add Folder to Workspace. Here you choose the folder that has been created, the Freestyle app here, for example, or in our case, the Freestyle app, Freestyle directory, and then you choose OK here. This creates a new workspace for you, as you can see here. Now let's have a look into the directory structure on the left-hand side here for our Freestyle app that has been created for us. The web app directory here is the most important one for you, since this is the directory that keeps all the whole app, basically, including the source code that you are going to write. SAP UI5 has provided a very basic model view controller approach for us here. And you can see here these directories, the model here, model directory, the view directory here, where all your views are located basically, and a controller directory where basically your source code is located. Since we have named our app, the view of our app videos, a file named videos.view.xml is created here in the view directory. We click on it. Here you can see the MVC view tag, which contains a page and a content. Additionally, in the controller directory, the generator has created a controller for us for this view, and the name of the controller is videos.controller.js. We click on it as well. In this file, you basically write the code that reacts to actions and events in the view. Now let's try to run this basic app. For this purpose, we click on our directory, on our project directory. It says Freestyle here. We right click on it, and then we choose Open an Integrated Terminal. You also could hit Preview Application. However, I want to open it in the integrated terminal. This opens the integrated terminal at the bottom of the page, and here we can run npm start and enter. This runs the app that currently just displays the title here. So if we go back to the view, we can see that the title is outputted like this: I18N greater title, which means that the title comes from the I18N directory here on the left-hand side in the I18N properties field, and here you can see the title. Before we write the code here, let's look into another very important file here on the left-hand side, which is the Manifest.json file here. I open it, and here in the SAP.app key, you find the data sources key that contains the URI to our backend service, to our OData V4 Backend Service, OData V4 4.0. Additionally, if we scroll down to the SAP UI5 key here, we can find the models key here, and in this models key we can see that the service has been referenced here, again the main service, with an empty key. This means that the model of our OData 4 service gets instantiated automatically whenever the app is loaded. All we need to know is the name of the entity set that we want to access. So if we don't know it, we can look into the local service in the metadata XML file here. And here we can look for the entity set that's provided by the service. In our case, the leading entity set is the Z-video entity set, and we will use this one here. Now let's go back to our videos view file here, and let's start with a table here. First we change this content tag here to this version here. And here we add a table control. At this point, I recommend you to check out the UI5 page at sap.com. It's ui5.sap.com. Here you can search for the control that you need in the API reference section here. And for example, for the table, you can find here the table documentation, which shows you, for example, all the properties or methods of a given control. So now here in my table, I write table and end table. Please note that this table has to start with an uppercase T, since this is not an HTML table, but an SAP UI5 control. Actually, you're not allowed to write regular HTML tags here in this view. However, I will show you an approach how you still can use regular HTML tags as well later in this video. However, you can see here that this table tag is underlined with a red color line. The table class can't have an empty ID attribute when flex enabled is true in Manifest.json. So although it's definitely recommended to use stable IDs, I will change this in the Manifest.json here, the flex enabled to false, so that I don't have to stick with the IDs here in my views. But even though for the table control, I will provide an ID here, and I name this ID video list, for example, video list. Then I set another property named items, and this one contains an object. And in this object, I set the path to ZC video. Please note that this is the entity set, our leading entity set, that we have seen before in the metadata. Now I can define columns in my table here. I create a column for the thumbnail, which has the ID thumbnail column, for example, with the ID title column for our title. The title is a text control, and I set this text to title. So actually I can use the short form here, make it like this. Actually, instead of writing the title hard-coded here, I could use the i18n resource file, i18n, and I could use a name like title label text, for example. Of course, I have to open the i18n properties file here and add this text label here as follows. Additionally, I add a label for the description here, and in the view I add a column for the description here as well. Now that we have the columns, let's define the items. Since we want to bind the data from our OData V4 service to our video list, we have to use the column list item here. And within this, we define our cells, our required cells. And these cells are an image for our thumbnail. And as source for this image, we use the thumbnail from our OData V4 model. Next, we set the width of this image to 15 EM, for example. In the next cell, we enter the title from the model as a text field. Text is title. Please note that we use the curly brackets here for the fields that come from our OData V4 model. Next, we add another cell for the description. But one important thing is missing. We have to add an object identifier to one of our cells to make the whole object unique. So I add the object identifier field around the title, object identifier here. So we can remove the text control here. And we just use the text property here. Again, we can use the short form here for this object identifier. And we can use the title property here of the object identifier and add an additional field, an additional text here, for example, the URL. So that's basically all we need for the video list. So let's look back to our browser window where the app is still running. And here you can see that the videos are retrieved from our OData V4 service and displayed here in our table. Next, let's put a responsive splitter to our view that splits the screen whenever a video is clicked. So first we add a few more namespaces to our view in order to use the controls that are available in these namespaces. Then, right after the content tab here, I add the responsive splitter along with some other controls for the pane container, the split pane, and the layout data. And of course, I have to close these tags here at the end before the end of the content. And now let's reformat our document here with the UI5 language assistant. And now you can see it's better that I have added here the responsive splitter with the pane container and two split panes. As you can see here, the first split pane covers the table and the second split pane starts here after the end of the first split pane and after the table, and it contains the detail area. This detail area is a semantic page and it is not visible at the start. However, I have added already the whole structure for it here. Basically, I display the title of the video with a semantic title heading here. Then in a semantic header content, I added a flex box that contains a VBox that contains an avatar, and this avatar basically displays the thumbnail on the detail page. And here you can see that this avatar has a detail box that has a Lightbox that allows you to increase the size of the thumbnail when you click on it. Then if we scroll down further, after the header content, the content of the detail page starts. Here we use a flexbox and a form container in which we display the detailed information of the video. But more importantly, if we scroll down here at the end of this flexbox, you can see that I've added an HTML control here that has a property named content, and that allows you to add regular HTML content or HTML tags here. However, this is a little bit tedious since you would have encoded the tags here. So for example, you cannot simply write a div here, but instead you would need to write it like this, for example. So therefore we don't do it this way. Therefore we fill this content through our controller. I will show you this a little bit later. So now let's restart our app to see if it still works. And yes, the app still works. However, you cannot see many changes other than the screen is, the window is full size now. However, what we want to do now is we want to implement the click event whenever we click on one of these videos. We implement the click event in the controller, so we switch back to our Business Application Studio. Here in our view, we find the table control and we add these two lines here. And we set the mode to single select master and the selection change to on selection change. This is basically the name of the function that gets called when we click on a YouTube video in the table row. And the single select master means that you basically can click anywhere here on this row. Now let's open the controller. It's the videos controller.js file. And here we can write this method on selection change, which is a function. And as argument in this function, we get an O event. And within this function, we call another function that for now I just paste in here. And we call this function as follows. This set detail area, which is the name of this function below here. And this argument we pass in the binding context, which we get through oEvent.getParameter listItem.getBindingContext. And in the set detail area function, we get the controls by its ID. We get the detail area, the default layout, and the myHTML control. Then we set the binding context of the OData area, to the video context that we retrieved here as a parameter. Then we set the detail area to visible. And here we reduce the size of the master layout to 40%. Here we get the selected item from the context and we store it in the active item variable. Next, we embed the YouTube player as iframe in the HTML control. Since we want to use the embedded YouTube player, we have to use this URL here, youtube.com/embed. Therefore, we replace this string here in our video URL with this string here. Then we compose the embedded YouTube player string here and we set the source to the active video URL. Then we store the complete string here in a variable named YouTube iframe. Eventually, we set the content of our HTML field to our YouTube iframe string. But please note that you have to cover it with a div here, because otherwise it wouldn't work. So let's switch back to our browser and see if it works. So if we click here, it doesn't work. Okay, let's switch back to the code, see what's wrong here. Let's go back here to the function that is called when the user clicks. Okay, what I can see here that I've written the function on selection change in lowercase. And if we look back to our view, we can see that the function on selection change is written here as follows, with an uppercase S and an uppercase C. So switch back to the controller and change that. On selection change. Now we switch back to our browser window and we click anywhere on a YouTube video, for example on this one, and now we can see that we see the details of the video along with the YouTube player, where we actually can play the video. Hi, welcome back everyone. So that's all for today. If you like this content, please click the like button, the subscribe button, and also notification bell below. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.